live here with a panel of beautiful, brilliant sisters, and we're going to have a good discussion that needs to be had. And what we're going to talk about, I've heard some people talking this past week, and they haven't gotten into what we're really going to get into. So we're going to have this discussion. WAP, Women Are Priceless. Okay, this is the Women Are Priceless episode of the African History Network show. This is a discussion with African-American women about analyzing the WAP song from rapper Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion. We'll have an in-depth conversation about negative corporate controlled hip hop, Black women's sexual liberation, combating stereotypes, fighting against white supremacy, etc. So I want to have my panelists introduce themselves. First, we'll go to Hecava Mecca. Let people know who you are and what it is that you do, sister.
Peace. I am Hecava Mecca, and I am a female rapper, singer, and songwriter. I just recently dropped an album in February. I'm a conscious artist, a new artist. That's about it.
Okay, conscious artist, new artist. And when you're an artist, you always promote your product. So what's the name of your CD that you just dropped?
I got the shirt on, Young God, and it is available.
What's the name of it again?
It's called Young God.
Young God. Okay. Okay, from Hecava Mecca. And which city are you from?
I am from Akron, Ohio.
From Akron, Ohio. Okay. All right, sister. And then next, we're going to go to Herb Alchemy. So just so you all know, we have two African-American female hip-hop artists that do conscious hip-hop. Then we also have Jade Arendelle. You've seen Herb Alchemyst and Jade Arendelle here on the African History Network. Go ahead, Herb Alchemyst. Tell them who you are and what you do.
Divine Royal Greetings, family. I am the Herb Alchemyst. I'm actually an herbalist first, and a wellness coach, owner of Mama's Healing Services. I also have a bachelor's degree in metaphysics, and I am a minister of metaphysics. I'm also a sacred woman under Queen Afua. I'm also the co-creator of the Real Family Reunion, Return of the Gods, which is a cultural festival. And right. I am also an entertainer, which includes hip hop, R&B, I dance, all of that good stuff. And I'm just really a person that's here for the progression of my people at the end of the day.
Right. So you see her videos a lot of times here on the African History Network. We share her videos, and shout out to her sister Kataria Knows. I was a honoree in 2018 at the Return of the Gods, myself and Professor Kabahaya Kamene. So it was a good time, and you all just had it. So I talked to Kataria, heard it was a big success as well. Yeah. All right. And then last but not least, we have Jade Arendelle. Jade, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people what you do.
Yes, peace and Black power. I'm Jade Arendelle. I am a community organizer. I am an activist as well as a member, national officer of the National Black United Front, serving in the new role of Vice Chair of Administration. Also have a podcast. Y'all can check me out at flynubianqueen.com, but also have my own business. So I'm the founder and CEO of Victory of the People Movement, LLC. And we find solutions to anti-Black racism within education, politics, and media.
Right. So you do anti-Black racism training, things like that, right? Yeah,
facilitation, strategic planning, coaching, problem solving in the areas of politics, media, and education. A lot of work in schools. I have a background in teaching high school. So this particular topic is extremely important to me and in terms of our youth. And I want to thank our brother Michael Imhotep for having me on today in this much needed discussion.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons why I want to have this discussion is because some of the comments that I heard this past week, I said, oh my God, we have to have this because so many of our people are confused and don't understand how we are being attacked. Okay. So let me start out like this. Now, those that watch the African History Network show, I may say some things that are outside the circumference of your own awareness. Just because you never heard them before, disagree with them, or don't like them, does not mean that they are not true. It just means you have to go do some research to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. You're broadcasting on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Subscribe there, turn on notifications so you know when we go live, because YouTube don't share all. YouTube doesn't notify people when I'm going live, just like Facebook. Okay, a lot of times. And then follow me on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Turn on notifications there as well. So I'm doing this because a lot of the comments I've gotten this past week scared the hell out of me from African Americans, especially African American women, some African American women. And I'm also the father of a 3-year-old daughter. So I worry about the world that my daughter is growing up in and how I can contribute to it to make it better. And coming from an African tradition, these are all of our children also. So it's not just individually, but these are all of our children. Okay. So Cardi B's video WAP, which means wet AP, I feel uncomfortable using vulgar language in front of women that I'm not in front of women. Let me leave it like that. Was released on Friday, August 7th, 2020 to a social media and internet frenzy. The video features Megan Thee Stallion, and you see me talked about this before. A stallion has not been castrated. That's a whole nother conversation, but I'm just saying. And it has been viewed. It was viewed 26 million times in one day on B's YouTube channel. About 47 million times by the second day, 60 million times. And I just checked. Today is Thursday, August 13th, million times just on her YouTube channel alone. Okay. She was receiving both and receiving praise from some who call it sexual liberation for Black women who are telling men what they want in the bedroom, and criticism, and others who say it depicts a hypersexualized image and it very extremely sexually explicit and vulgar lyrics. Okay, when you listen to the okay. Now, what I find interesting is that they have a censored version on YouTube, but then doing research on that and even watching the video from Cardi B, it appears they censored it on YouTube to get monetization from it, because they wouldn't be able to get the monetization with the uncensored version. Okay, which means they censored it not because of children and things like this, is because of money. All right. So the song samples Frank Ski's Whores in this, which was problematic when it came out and is being recycled. And this forms the bass line that you hear repeatedly through the song. Now, a lot of people are focusing on WAP up here and them repeatedly saying WAP. Bass line is there's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. So this is why I titled this discussion, there are no women are not whores. That's part of it. It features hip hop artists and celebrities, Normani, Rosalia, Kylie Jenner, hip hop artist Mulatto that has another song that's problematic called Muwap, Sukiyana, and Ruby Rose. And the release of this video basically broke the internet. The song also debuted at #1 on US Spotify, #6 on global Spotify, with 2.34 million and 3.75 million streams, and #1 on US Apple Music. Now, I did a Facebook post when it came out. I saw this article from thegrio.com. Name of this article from thegrio.com is Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion Calls Internet Frenzy with Release of WAP. Okay, this is from August 7th, 2020. And this is what I said in my post, right? And let me say this from the beginning. I am not trying to attack Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. This is much bigger than them. This is dealing with negative corporate controlled hip hop and messages that white corporations finance and use us to promote. Okay. But I said, why is thought culture and stripper music being targeted to African Americans, especially girls? African American girls. The hypersexualization of African Americans goes back to slavery, when orchestrated sexual assault took place to produce children for slave masters to enrich them. Now, originally, we looked at that as rape, but I did research on a sister named Professor Stephanie E. Jones Rogers. She had a book that came out earlier, I think it was last year, because I did a video about it. The name of her book was called They Were Her Property. They Were Her Property. She's a historian. She teaches history in California at one of the universities. And They Were Her Property deals with how researching records, census data, etc., from 1850 to 1860, almost 40% of the slaves in this country were owned by white women, which is different than the narrative that we have been told, where most of the slaves were owned by basically white men, and white women didn't own many slaves. Okay. And she talked about orchestrated sexual assault and how when you had they wanted not just more slave children, they will orchestrate the man and woman get together. Okay. And both of them are being victims of sexual assault, not just the woman, but also to be a wet nurse for a white woman's baby. When a white woman's pregnant, she would possibly organize orchestrated sexual assault so that a black woman would get pregnant about the same time, so she could be a wet nurse to the white woman's baby. So I said, who is really understanding this context? I said, who is really making money off of this sexual exploitation of African-American women today, as well as African-American men? Because so I'm not saying that men can do these explicit lyrics and stuff like that and women can't. I'm saying all of this is wrong. And we have to understand that and fight against that. Okay. So with that, well, I'm going to get responses from the sisters. Let's start with Hecava Mecca first, and then we'll go to Herb Alchemist and Jade Arendelle. So Hecava, what was your response and the feedback you got, things like this, to the video and the lyrics, etc.?
Well, me personally, when I seen it, I couldn't even finish watching the video. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had to turn it off because it was disgusting. And people will say, well, you're being judgmental by saying that. But it's like, don't nobody want to see that. I mean, I don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to it, it's just.
And that's your son in the background. Yep, go ahead.
Because I have a child and I'm pregnant right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have daughters, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my son growing up in this type of world. I don't want my son being exposed to this type of thing, because I want my son to have respect for women.
Right.
I want him to look at women as just something, and a lot of the things that I seen was women saying that it represents the divine feminine. You can't say that something is divine and it's disrespectful to yourself. It's degrading, it's demeaning, and it's disrespectful, but you're saying it's divine. Divine means that it's sacred, and if it's sacred, that means that it's holy, and if it's holy, that means that not everybody should have access to it. And
Right.
Femininity does not mean sexuality. Femininity is really the soft nature of a woman. It's the innocence. It's the humility and modesty that comes with a woman. It really has nothing to do with her sexuality. So we're putting these words together, trying to make sense of what really doesn't make sense, because we're trying to justify what we see.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me just say this very quickly also. I've done in the past, I've been doing radio 10 years. So in the past, I've interviewed everybody from Professor Griff, a Public Enemy, to Brother Jay of the X-Clan, Wise Intelligence of the Poor Righteous Teachers, Speech from Arrested Development. We've dealt with conscious hip hop, what happened to it. I've done shows where I deal with Lil Wayne when he talked about Beat It Up like Emmett Till. Rick Ross when he had a song talking about slipping a date rape drug into a woman's drink, all different things like that. So I've dealt with female artists and lyrics. I dealt with male artists and lyrics. Okay, so I just want people to understand that this is the first time seeing me. Herb Alchemist. Okay, So go ahead, because this is you deal with women's reproductive. You're a women's reproductive health expert as well. Go ahead and take it away, Herb Alchemist. I know you want to get in on this.
Please. Yeah. So when I first saw it, I was just very disappointed. Simply because I know Cardi has been quiet for some time. And so she had been speaking a lot of things, pertaining to just social consciousness. And so I felt that the quietness was coming from her, seeing that she may need to go into a different direction with the music. And so I was actually shocked when the song came out. While I did appreciate the fact that sisters are working together when it comes to music and not so much fighting against each other, but attempting to form some sort of sisterhood, I was absolutely appalled. And if I can share my own testimony,
go ahead.
I was that girl who was influenced by rappers and saying that, stripping is the way to go and these different things. And so I did actually, in college, I thought stripping would be the ideal way for me to make some side money, to pay my bills. And I experienced the pain and the remembrance of my ancestors in that time when I would get butt naked in front of these Caucasian men throwing money at me and me just showing them and sharing my body just for the simple fact that they had money. After a week of being in the strip club, because, they don't allow, if you're 18, you can't be in the clubs where they sell liquor. So that means that you have to get fully nude, right?
Right.
And so that's very traumatizing for a young girl. And after a week of dancing, I couldn't look in the mirror any longer. I couldn't look in the mirror because I didn't recognize myself. I had so many spirits attached to me. And I just didn't really know who I was at that point, And so I had quit after a week. But I just got caught up in different things. And so for this culture to be promoted as something that's cool and for them to excuse it on such a high level and attempt to paint it as something empowering, it boggles my mind and it angers my spirit, because I remember being that young girl following after these type of women and nearly losing my soul as a result. And so I think it is very distasteful to continue to promote prostitution in a world where you can make millions of dollars just by posting things on Facebook, and just working apps. Like, there's so many ways to make money. So for Cardi to sit in her concerts and say, if you can't get a job, you need to sell some pussy. That's a problem to me. And she continues, I saw their panel discussion where they're attempting to defend and say, well, guys are always doing it and they're coming for us. And it was her and Mulatto and Suki and, Ruby Rose or whoever.
Right.
And Cardi continues to paint this narrative that she never prostituted herself. Meanwhile, she has songs before she was a mainstream artist about prostituting herself. There's one song in particular called My Everything, where she's talking to her sister and telling her not to do the things that she once did, and how she had to lay up under trick niggas to get money and this and that, and how she sold her body to get money. And so my thing is this: she wants to paint this picture now that she was just a dancer, which I can tell you, when you're in a club, listen, you're getting touched. You're getting molested. You want to know why they drink so much in the club? To forget the things that happen to them every night. You want to know why they do so many drugs in the club? To forget what happens to them every night. So she can try and attempt to cover up what she has done. But when she gets drunk and wasted and gets on that mic, it all comes out. And she's promoting this to the youth. And it's absolutely not okay. And it has to be stopped. And if we're not going to stand up and form a coalition of sisters who are saying, hey, you're not going to do this to our youth for you to get paid, then we're just talking. You feel me? So I was extremely appalled and extremely disgusted when I saw the video and I heard the song, for them to promote a whole whorehouse. It was disgusting.
And that was one of the things I was going to talk about, because, and I'm going to come to you in just a second here, Jade. With the baseline, there's some whores in this house, and there are no men in the video. One could draw the conclusion that this is a whorehouse. One could draw that conclusion. Most of the women are black in the house. One could come to that conclusion that it's a whorehouse, and it's a mansion. It's not in the projects, and they're promoting. When you listen to the lyrics, and you can go to azlyrics.com or genius.com and read the lyrics, some of the lyrics, they're promoting prostitution. So okay, go ahead, Jade.
Yeah, so I was just listening to our sisters Hecava, Mecca, and Herb Alchemist, share their perspectives, and it was so much that was said that I resonated with. But my initial reactions when I saw the video, from what I saw the whole thing. I don't know how I got through it, but I wanted to see what it was, because a lot of my work is directly dealing with our youth. Mm-hmm. When I say youth, I mean ages high school and middle school, and younger women who are in college, and young men, boys as well. And so my initial emotions and reactions were hurt, alarmed, and frustrated. Right. And I felt a huge sense of urgency around this, and a huge sense of responsibility to address this and to get this out there. And so after I saw the video, before I went in on Cardi B or the music industry, I was shocked at the amount of Black women, older women who have children or they have grown daughters at this point, who are also praising this foolishness. And so what I did was I took to my social media and I raised a question. I said, if you like Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion's new video, please explain to me, 1, what about it is empowering / constructive? 2, what positive messages does it send to Black girls and Black women? And 3, how is it a reflection of self-love? And and I posted it, I probably got over 4,000 comments, responses to these questions, to this one post, mm-hmm. In different places. And a lot of what I saw was deflection. I saw insults being hurled at Black women, like us on this panel, and other sisters out there, and even other men out there who are just really concerned, like our brother Michael. A lot of the energy that when you're putting something out in the ether, talking about there's some whores in this house, and it's big upping and promoting prostitution, that comes with a lower vibration level of energy and thinking. And so not only is the music itself disgusting and hurtful and harmful and toxic, but the energy around the conversation also made me feel like I defiled myself by even engaging in the conversation, or even watching the video or listening to the lyrics in the first place. But I think the most disheartening thing about this entire ordeal was seeing so many women who actually really, really believe and defend that portraying another woman portraying her sexuality in a very, very overt manner, and talking about prostitution and all of these things that are very, very raunchy, they see that as empowering. And I feel like if they are seeing that as women's empowerment, then I think that we're in big trouble unless this is something we address right now and correct it, because we have babies and children growing up. The final thing I'll say right now is that I saw a lot of the responses being like, well, I like the song. I'm a grown woman. I raise my own kids. Everyone should raise their own children. You're stupid if you think that Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion will be a role model for your daughters. It's not for children. Well, children have telephones, internet, and when they're at school or when they're out amongst their peers, they're exposed to any and everything that we're actually exposed to too. And so instead of grown people, men and women, actually seeing that as a problem and a harm and a form of musical pornography for children, which will also be a form of sexual assault that is being projected onto them by the music industry, and maybe even by their relatives or family members or even parents who are playing this mess. The radio is playing it right now. The folks on the Breakfast Club are defending it. Our children are being psychologically raped by this sort of filth. And I'm ready to organize and do something to say, this needs to be censored straight up.
Right, exactly. And I know Bob Law is one of your mentors. I know Bob Law has the Respect Us. He's involved in the Respect Us campaign. He's been involved in trying to clean up the airways for years. I interviewed him last year, 2019. You set up an interview with me when you and I were speaking in Brooklyn. Okay, so let me do this. I want to continue with some of my notes. My two of my main criticisms. I have more than two, but just two of my main criticisms here are so one is I want people to understand I'm not trying to attack Cardi B and Megan. Other people may have their opinion, that's fine. But one, I'm dealing with negative corporate controlled hip hop and funded by white corporations targeting African Americans with destructive messages. Okay, negative corporate controlled hip hop funded by white corporations targeting African Americans with destructive messages. Now, this song is put out by Atlantic Records. Atlantic Records is a white-owned corporation. Here you have Atlantic Records financing and marketing a music video and a song that promotes we can say promiscuity, but has lyrics promoting prostitution, things like this in it, very vulgar, sexually explicit lyrics. Okay. They're using two Black women to push this out to millions of people. They're using social media, everything. They're doing interviews, etc. And then there's a book that's the work of art that displays artwork surrounding this video as well. So here you have messaging financed by a white corporation. And when we look at something here, I was doing research on human trafficking. And there's a big problem, and you've been posting a lot, and you do work around this, Jade. Black women, Black girls being put into human trafficking, forced into prostitution. Essence.com has this article from, this is from 2019, Essence Special Report, Sex Trafficking in the Black Community. On page 2, it says a victim of sex trafficking is an individual who has been forced into the commercial sex industry, such as prostitution, and held against their will by force, fraud, or coercion. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the average entry age into the sex industry is just 12 years old. Now, I know sisters with 12-year-old daughters, and I've heard them saying, well, the music is not for my daughter, but if they want to put this out there, that's fine. And my thing is, well, wait a second. If Cardi B and Megan, if they recorded this video and showed it in their home to themselves, that's one thing. When you push this out here and it's been viewed 88 million times, okay, just on Cardi B's YouTube channel, this is something different. The other thing is I heard people saying, well, there were blues songs in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and they talked about sex and things like this. Well, hell, that was before most people had a television in the home. Okay. We had the 2 Live Crew back in 1990 and things like this. That's true. That was bad, but that was before YouTube. YouTube wasn't created till 2005. That was before Facebook. Facebook was created in 2004. That's before Twitter. Twitter was created about 2008. That's largely before we had social media like we have today. So this message can be pushed out in mass to people. And at the same time, it can bypass parents because children can go right on their smartphone and go on YouTube and watch this. And also listen to the uncensored lyrics on YouTube. So we're in a totally different time. This is unprecedented access, which allows the warfare to take another form. We're under attack and don't even know it. How do you defend yourself against an attack when you don't know you're being attacked? Let me get your comments on this. Let's go to Hecava, Mecca, and then we'll go to Alchemyst and then Jade. Hecava? Oh, okay.
I mean, if you don't know you're being attacked, then there's no way for you to be able to combat the attack. I mean, Black people have been at war for a very, 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 very long time. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know that we are at war, not just in the music industry, but through the food, through the air, through all, these different aspects of life, we are at war. But what makes this different, because I'm not taking responsibility away from the men artists, because men have been disrespecting women in their music for a very long time as well.
Absolutely.
But the difference is that when you see a woman literally go to the level that she goes to literally disrespect herself, That's just a completely different level of disrespect. Because if you don't respect you, you can't expect somebody else to respect you. And as a woman, we are basically the standard of a nation. And a nation can rise no higher than its woman, because the woman is the first teacher. She is the first leader. And if you don't have anything to give your child, if you don't have any type of knowledge besides shaking your ass to give to your child, excuse my language, then what is your child going to grow up doing? What is your child going to grow up and become? This is not something that is acceptable. And like the sister said, there's women who are saying, well, you're dumb to think that Cardi or Meg Thee Stallion is to be a role model, but they're all automatically given that responsibility because of the platform that they have. Right. Music has the strongest influence in the world. It's the strongest thing in the world. And so if you don't want that responsibility, I've even heard Cardi B say, I'm not a role model. I understand the fact that you say that, but just because you say that doesn't mean that that's not what it is.
Now, you are a hip hop artist, Hecava Mecca, and you did a video, you posted a video, and you were quoting Dr. Wesley Muhammad. And now, regardless of what people's religion is, doesn't have to, this is not specific to religion, but you talked about the power that artists have. Talk about that for a minute.
The artist, Dr. Wesley said that basically the artists are the gods of today, because we have the minds of the people in our hands. A child can learn the words to a song before they even learn how to go poo-poo in the potty. They can learn the words to a song before they even learn how to say what their name is, before they learn the alphabet. So we are almost like teachers. And then also, being a woman, by nature, you automatically being a teacher, you know what I'm saying? It makes it a little bit different, because automatically a child is going to look to you for knowledge. It's kind of natural, because she has that nurturing essence about her.
Exactly. I'm going to come to Herb Alchemist in just a minute, and then we'll go to Jade. If you want to know who your children's role models are, go in their room and see who they have on their wall. Go in their room and look at the posters they have on their wall. Okay. And see who your children's role models are. Now, you may still be a role model, but there are all these other influencers. Okay. And also, everybody watching, share this broadcast on your social media platforms. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. And if you like this type of information, also, you can donate to the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, and paypal.me / the AHN show through YouTube, through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN show through PayPal. Okay, Herb Alchemist, go ahead, and then we'll go to Jade.
So, for one, I want to make it very clear, I am in no way against sexuality, right? In fact, I help women to achieve WAP.
Exactly.
Is what God.
Some people have seen some of your videos here we share. So talk about what you do. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm an herbalist, and one of the main things that I do is I help women to achieve a healthy reproductive system. And a part of that is, as the Creator has made us to have a flourishing, abundant, body that is able to experience bliss and pleasure on levels unknown. Like, I help women to tap into that treasure, right? And men, but in particular women. And so I don't want to come off as if I'm against sexuality, but there is a such thing as perversion. And one thing that I teach our people is, to return to the sacredness of sexuality. And so what we're dealing with right now in hip hop is absolutely not the goddess energy. What we're dealing with is the succubus energy, which is the actual opposite of the goddess. It's a demon woman who steals and robs energy from men with her sexual energy. She's a vampire. And so most of these women in hip hop are portraying a vampiric woman, a vampiric spirit, a succubus energy that's meant to drain men of his vital essence, resources, financial resources. You hear all the time.
And you hear them talk about that.
Yes.
Getting for their money in the song.
When I get some money. You know what I'm saying? That type of mentality. So I just want to make that very clear. This has nothing to do with the goddess. Okay? This has nothing to do with divine feminine liberation. This is absolutely the polar of the divine feminine. And I myself, even within my music, I'm not going to stray away from talking about sexuality, but there's a way that you can do it and still make it palatable, still make it tasteful. And so one thing I also want to mention in regards to the actual war, for one, I've been wanting to be a musician since I was 7 years old. I share birthdays with Missy Elliott, and she was actually my inspiration when I was 7 to become a musician. I didn't start to actually make music officially until a few years ago when I was 28 years old. And the reason why I did is because everything I do, I move off of the Most High. I come from a long line of prophets and healers. My father's a minister. Mm-hmm. And so the Most High had told me, hey, Herb, I know that you've been putting the healing for a long time into this medicine, but now I needed to start making medicine music because it travels further and it can reach more people. And so when you understand that words are spells, then you can understand the warfare that we are under, the covert warfare. And so a lot of people, they don't want to take responsibility, right?
Right.
They want to say, hey, well, I'm not a role model. You know, you should watch your own children. Meanwhile, we all know that we deal with a race that's bastardized. We deal with a race where the children don't often have their parents to protect them, to guide them and lead them. So what guides them, protects them, and leads them is the culture. But if the culture is demonic, if the culture is wicked, then where are our children being led into? And so when it comes to spell casting, as a metaphysician, I understand the power of words and how words and thoughts become things. So even if a person thinks that they're in control and they're in power and they're, you know, they know what they're doing, when you constantly feed yourself, you are all that you consume. You are the food that you consume. You are the words that you consume. You are the things that come into your sight. You're a makeup of all that you consume. So if you're constantly consuming these words, then they will begin to work on your subconscious mind and create a reality after what it is that you are thinking. So the warfare is very deep.
It attacks the subconscious. Right.
Exactly. And it is a responsibility of the artist. It's a responsibility of the artist to be mindful of what they are putting out, because everything that you put out reverberates and comes right back to you. So we see right after this music video was shot, what happened? Megan Thee Stallion got shot in both of her feet. Do you understand? This is not to
was that after? So the video came out August 7th, Friday, August 7th. Did she get shot after the video before?
The video was shot prior to her being shot.
Right.
She's still in recovery.
Okay.
This is no diss to this sister, but I'm trying to help you understand as a metaphysician, if you see this, that you attract what you put out, and you have to be responsible for the words that you put out. It's not okay to poison an adult or a child. You can say, oh, well, this ain't for children, but it's still poison. So if you're still poisoning people that are 18 and older, you're still poisoning people, and you have to be held accountable and responsible for that.
Right. Okay. Let me get Jade in here. And I know there have been gynecologists that have come out and said they want people, especially men, to understand that it's natural for women, because a lot of men don't understand gynecology, don't understand the female body. They want men to understand that it's natural for women to be very lubricated, things like this. And even what you teach on Herb Alchemyst, female ejaculation, things like that, that is natural. Okay. So let's go to Jade.
That was a whole word, Herb Alchemyst. I'm like, over here jumping out of my seat like, yes. All right. So listen, the demonic energy and the low vibration energy that this stuff circulates and perpetuates is still, it still feels yucky to me. I mean, I'm grateful to be a part of this conversation, but I'm gonna have to like literally do a detox and a cleanse like once this is done, and I'm probably gonna take a break from this conversation and pick this back up on the other side in terms of organizing. Now I'm a defender of the culture and a defender of children, right? And so I have to like continue to stress how these sorts of messages, they definitely set the stage for making Black girls and Black women unsafe and targets of sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, exploitation, kidnapping, human trafficking, organ harvesting, and all of that stuff. So that can't be lost. Like, I think a lot of folks, like when the conversations I'm seeing on social media are focusing on the very, very micro level. Like, I like this song. It makes me feel good. This makes me feel empowered. Oh, well. And it's like a whole thing, but they're not looking at the larger picture of it. So I really appreciate it. Appreciating the conversation so far, because we're touching on this from different angles and seeing how they're interrelated. Now, Mr. Neely Fuller teaches us that, and this is the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, a compensatory counter-racist code, right? That anti-Black racism and white supremacy functions in all areas of people activity. And there are 9 areas: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war or counter-war. And that's exactly what we have going on here. And like looking at how the conversation about sex and sexuality with women has been weaponized to further an anti-Black racist and white supremacist agenda. And it's also, responsible for causing a gender divide, but also harm is being done to Black women and Black girls, and even to Black men. We talk about like rape, molestation, and all those other disgusting things that I named, but all of this plays a part of it. Unfortunately, what the entertainment industry is doing, or media is doing, to weaponize these messages, putting them out there, they're seeping into our subconscious, like Hecava Mecca said, and it's desensitizing people to the harms of this stuff. So I have to think about that.
It's normalizing
it, yes, and normalizing it, for sure. And the final thing that I want to say that I keep revisiting, because I am a student of Dr. Joy DeGruy. I'm in my second course with her, and we talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome. I hope people get this book. I refer to it all the time. Right. Like the harm that was done to us on plantations through sex and all of the some of the things that were mentioned earlier have seeped into our epigenetics, right, in our genetic memory. Right. And I'm not going to use like the argument that like, so what, like Black people have made, filthy music per se, and blues and all of these other things. But we have to look at the sexual trauma that was done to us that has never healed, but has been exploited for other people to profit off of and gain. The next thing is that when the video came out, I went to go look up who was responsible for the imagery. Who were the directors? Who were the producers? Right. And I would tell you that about 80 or 90% of them were not people of African descent. These were men of another persuasion in Hollywood that are out here exploiting these women. And then we got people like, Suki Hana, who was glorifying this sort of prostitution lifestyle and say, you better tax these NIGGAs, you better tax them. If you're going to have sex with them, you better get something out of it in return. Right. Which is prostitution culture. But come to find out, her manager is like another one of those white folk, in Hollywood, a man who's exploiting her as well. And so we have to look at all sides of this and see how the divine feminine image of the Black woman and Black girls are being put at risk of being unsafe and harmed. And that has to stop.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I was looking at, I got a lot of comments from the initial post I did on Facebook. And then I did a second one because women were telling me, some Black women were telling me the video was sexually empowering. It was sexually liberating for Black women. I had one tell me that not only was it sexually liberating for Black women, she was basically saying it's all right for women that have sex with men for money, things like that. I unfriended her ass, but you know, that's something else. I was like, look, I've the tween, but this past week, I've probably friended at least 30 people. You know, I don't have time for that. And I have over 1,000 people waiting for me to accept their friend request. So I really don't care, man. I do not have time for this type of nonsense. Let me give a few comments. Number one, I was looking for my copy of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. I can't find it. Dr. Joy DeGruy, but Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about cognitive dissonance in the book. And when cognitive dissonance, she talks about how you relabel a people to justify the mistreatment of the people. Okay. You put negative pejorative terms on people to justify you dehumanizing them, justify you mistreating them, because that absolves yourself of any guilt. All right. So in the video, they're also using the N-word and calling men the N-word. Now, people that know me, watch my show, I don't call our women the B-word. I don't call our women the H-word. I don't call them thoughts. I don't call them hood rats. I don't do that. I also don't call our people the N-word because I'm a historian. I understand what happens when you relabel people and you put negative pejorative terms on people. You do that to justify dehumanizing them. Okay, so I don't use those type of words to describe our people. So we have to understand that. You talked about epigenetics. Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about epigenetics. Epigenetics deals with a field of study that deals with how trauma and the effects of trauma can be passed on to future generations. And it deals with altering your DNA. It alters the FKBP5 portion of your DNA and causes elevated stress hormonal levels. So Dr. Rachel Yehuda has done research on Jewish Holocaust survivors and their children, the children who did not live through the Holocaust. Okay, they were born afterwards, and in future generations, and she's seen how they have an altered DNA because of that trauma. Well, and Dr. Joy DeGruy says, well, the same thing exists for us, for the trauma we've been through, the intergenerational trauma. Okay, so research epigenetics, E-P-I-G-E-T, epigenetics, E-P-I-G-E-N-T-I-C-S, I think is epigenetics. Okay, and then you talked about you talked about Nellie Fuller. I did not know Nellie Fuller, but I knew Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and I interviewed Dr. Welsing 3 times. Okay, and Dr. Welsing spoke out on this and taught us to understand white supremacy as a system. Okay, a system of white supremacy and racism is what we're doing. And as one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffrey, says, whoever controls your self-esteem, whoever controls the images controls your self-esteem, your self-development, your self-worth. Okay, whoever controls your history controls your future. Something else I wanted to hit upon, and I made notes to make sure I got through all of this. We talked about the promotion of prostitution backed by a white corporation, Atlantic Records. A lot of people say, I heard the comment that this is just entertainment. Okay, my degree is in business administration with a major in marketing. I have a background in marketing. This is not just entertainment. I understand the programming because I was trained in it. I know what I'm looking at. When you have TV shows, in between the segments of a TV show are what are called TV commercials. TV commercials are usually 30 to 60 seconds. And I also used to sell radio ads for a radio station here in Detroit as well 20 years ago. The TV commercials are designed to influence the way you think, feel, act, behave. They're designed to get you to buy a product or service, donate money to a cause, get you to stop buying a product, start buying a product, etc. They attack your emotions, they attack your needs, they attack your wants. These are TV commercials, 30 to 60-second commercials. Now, some commercials have celebrity endorsers. Cardi B endorsed Pepsi. Did they endorse Pepsi because she doesn't have an effect on the way people think, feel, act, or behave? And she has millions of social media followers, 13 million on YouTube alone. Okay. So when we look at music videos especially music videos, because music videos incorporate more of your senses. It's not just audio, listening to it, it's actually seeing it. And the colors and the various types of colors help you to remember details and to remember what's going on in the video. We're being attacked and don't understand the attack. So we should look at the music videos and the songs not just as entertainment, but also as 3-minute, 4-minute commercials. Because when you talk to artists, and I've talked to artists, songwriters, they tell you, you ask them, what was the inspiration of this song? All the songs have a meaning. They were going through something, somebody died, it was about a relationship, historical event. They want people to feel something, think a different way about something. There's messages in the movements. All you have in the music, all you have to do is talk to the songwriters. Okay. So when we watch the music videos, especially, we have to look at these as 3-minute, 4-minute commercials that are designed to affect the way we think, feel, act, and behave. And then also, coming from a marketing background, in commercials, they also have something called product placement. Product placement means a company paid money to have their product placed into a music video, a brand name, could be Ciroc Vodka, okay? Now, because Diddy had a stake in it, they may not have paid, but it could be something else. And they're promoting this. It's paid promotion because they know this influences people's spending patterns, their buying behavior. All right. So we're under this attack and don't understand this. So, and lastly, what I wanted to talk about, adultification bias. Are you all familiar with adultification bias in Black girls? Jade, Hecava, Brittany, or about?
Yes.
Okay. I want people to read this article from Huffington Post because I've been following this. This is from June 27, 2017. Black girls are viewed as less innocent than white girls starting at age 5. Black girls are viewed as less innocent than white girls starting at age 5. This deals with adultification bias. There was a study called Girlhood Interrupted, the erasure of Black girls' childhood. Girlhood Interrupted, the erasure of Black girls' childhood. This came from Georgetown University's Law Center on Poverty and Inequity and Inequality. And this study shows that society's perception of Black girls leads to their adultification. The report shows that adults believe that Black girls seem older than white girls of the same age and think that Black girls need less nurturing, less protection, less support and comfort than white girls. The report also found that people assume Black girls are more independent, know more about adult topics, and know more about sex than young white girls. Who were most of the women that you saw in that video? Were most of them Black?
Right. The Caucasian was the madam.
Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were most of the women that you saw in the video Black? So this is much deeper. Okay. Go ahead and comment, and then we may incorporate. I may take a few questions here from social media. Go ahead and comment. We'll start with Hecava Mecca.
Well, when you break down the word entertainment, you have 3 different words that you can come up with. You have enter, you have tain, and you have ment.
Mm-hmm.
You enter into something, you are going into something, right? The tain is the foil part of a mirror that is used for the reflection. So it's almost as if though you're entering into the reflection of what you see. And ment to me is short for mentality. So you're entering into the mentality of what you see. So when you have entertainment, you're literally absorbing, looking at, and becoming what you see. Because as you already talked about, the mind is a very powerful thing. It absorbs everything, no matter what. Like, your subconscious mind records everything, and you actually remember everything, but it's your conscious mind that doesn't remember everything. But subconsciously, everything is there, and you may react on things unconsciously not knowing that something may have happened to you before that's making you act like that.
Right.
Or you've seen something that's making you say X, Y, and Z. And so the whole epigenetics thing, where trauma is passed down through the genes, where does the baby come from? The baby comes from the woman. The baby is born from the woman. And the teaching starts before the baby's actually outside of the womb. It starts in the womb because the child's brain is a blank canvas. So what that mother sees, what that mother hears, what that mother is influenced by, what that mother is scared of, it all impresses onto the mind of the child. And so if she's not receiving anything that can help to uplift her, if she's not receiving any type of knowledge or growth or anything like that, if her mindset is I ain't nothing, if her mindset is I'm ugly, if her mindset is I'll never be anything, what do you think that does or impresses onto the mind of her child? And don't get me wrong, we are sexual beings. We are
Correct.
Human. God created sex.
Right.
God ordained sex.
Thank God created sex too, but go ahead.
But it's not something that should be personally. I feel it's not something that should be talked about in a way to where the act of sex is glorified or is made divine. It's what comes behind sex that makes it divine. It's the procreation of life that makes it divine. The actual act, it has a divine essence to it, but that's not what makes it divine.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's not something that should be discussed outside of the bedroom with the opposite sex. If you are going to talk about sex with the women around you. And like you are the alchemist, you help women with their femininity and their sexuality and stuff like that. And we need that, but it's not something that men need to know until they make us theirs, until they make us their woman. It's not your business. This is between me, myself, and my God. And until you make me yours, you shouldn't have access to me like that, because my womb is sacred. My womb is special. My womb creates life.
Right.
And just the hypersexual image that is portrayed of Black women, like Sister Jade said, it makes rape culture real. It makes it easy. It makes us a target, because it's almost like we make ourselves a target because we fall victim to the influence. And it's partly not our fault because of the people who are in control. It's the people who are in control, but it is our fault because we fall for it. And we continue to do it without seeing a change. You don't see any type of progression by doing what we do, yet we continue to do it. That's considered insanity.
Right. What I want to do, I'm going to come to Herb Alchemist in just a minute, because I know she helps women with this. When I think it was last year, when all this was going on with R. Kelly, I shared this article from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 here in Detroit. They picked up this story from their Cleveland affiliate. Name of this article, Surviving R. Kelly Sheds Light on Bigger Issue. Black women raped at higher rates, but report less. Black women raped at higher rates, but report less. And in this article, I'm going to post this link here on Facebook and YouTube. They talked about a study that showed that about 60% of African-American girls are sexually abused by the time they turn 18. Now, I saw another study that said it's about 40%. Still, either one is bad. Okay. And also, only 1 in 15 Black women actually report the abuse. Okay. According to the report. So this is something on a whole nother level. Okay. And when I watched Surviving R. Kelly, it was hard for me to watch that. When I watched that, when they one of the recurring themes was the reason why he allegedly was able to do what he did for so long was that these were Black women, and very few people cared if he was doing that to Black women. Okay, allegedly, because I talked about this back last year. I said hypothetically, if he or another Black man with money was outside of a predominantly white high school talking to 15, 16-year-old white girls, how long you think that'll go on? You know, so okay, we're gonna post this link. Herb Alchemist, go ahead, and then we'll go to Jade.
Well, just touching on the whole children aspect for one.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I'm not here to judge anybody.
Sure.
But to really, one lesson my sister Kateria taught me, and that the Real Family Reunion.
And that's your blood sister, yeah, Kateria.
Yes, was the difference between acceptance and love.
Mm-hmm.
So me accepting these sisters would be like, oh, well, you know, they doing what they do. You know, we freedom of speech. You can say what you want to say.
Right.
But me loving these sisters is saying, sis, nah, can't do this. You got babies. We got babies. We got to be better for them. We got to protect them. And so I say that because Cardi has a young daughter. So one day that daughter's gonna grow older. Suki has multiple children. One day these children are gonna grow older. And sometimes we don't realize things until we see the reflection of them in our children. So when Cardi is on interviews and they ask, what are you proud of yourself for? And she says, sucking dick. When your baby grows up and she's like, Mom, oh my God, I love sucking dick. That's when it will ring a bell. You understand? And I know I'm being vulgar and I'm talking, I'm not, spelling words out, but I just want it to be, God, I want to keep it 100.
Go ahead.
And so it's so vital that as mothers, we show our daughters a better way than what we were shown. Because we want our future to be better than our past. Our ancestors don't want us to go through what they've gone through. And I can attest, and I do believe that a lot of these statistics are fact, because too many women that I know have been sexually assaulted, myself included. So if we have a whole culture that supports sexual lewdness to such a degree, how can we expect to be protected? And you have this whole, Amber Rose doing the whole hoe walks and all this stuff. And they're like, it doesn't matter if I'm dressed this way. That doesn't mean you have permission to touch me. And that's very true. And I'm not saying that we all need to walk around and be nuns and walk around like Muslims with the full burqa and all these things. But at the same time, if we have young children, like one of the sisters, she's a hip hop artist. She put up a video. Her name is Nilam. She's a Muslim artist. She put up a video and she's like, shaking her head and saying, this is me like walking past some young girls talking about the back of their throat while they do a TikTok video. See, sometimes these children don't even know what they're talking about.
Right.
You're just mimicking what they're hearing. So again, we have to take some sort of accountability for what it is that we are putting out there. And so I've taken it upon myself to be an advocate for women's health. I for one, I could have really gone deep into that other world of, exotic dance. I remember when I was in the 5th grade, I was a straight A student. But when the teacher asked me, I had a 4.0, when the teacher comes and asks me, well, what do you want to be when you get older? I said, I wanted to be an exotic dancer, and So I'm a direct example of how certain music and certain imagery can influence the mind of a youth by the grace of the Most High and by the grace of my parents' leadership. I was able to find my track despite the distractions and get on path. But I know that I have an obligation with everything that I've gone through and everything that I survived to show my sisters. Like, I've dated the gangsters. You feel me? I've been in that world, so deep in that world that I have an understanding. So you can't tell me what it is and what it ain't. I know from experience that it ain't cool. I know from experience that our minds are impressionable as children. And when they paint something to being cool culturally, that is so easy for a young girl to gravitate towards it. So I have a responsibility, for one, to teach our sisters and our brothers, because I talk to men a lot about valuing themselves, valuing their bodies, not allowing women, these vampiric succubus women, to, utilize their energy and utilize their phallus, for their own gain, to learn how to respect themselves. And it's something that I know that I have to continue to do. And now even in the music, because one thing Cardi mentioned, and it just kind of tickled and it made me laugh and it kind of challenged me, is that she said, well, there's all these conscious artists, but y'all don't want the conscious music. Y'all want the pussy music. Y'all want this music because it sounds good and da-da-da-da.
He said, this is what sells. Yeah.
This is what sells, right? But that's just as bad as saying, hey, I sell McDonald's food. I know it's going to give you high blood pressure. I know it's going to give you cancer and diabetes, but y'all buying it. You understand? And so it's up to us as conscious artists to show, hey, I can make conscious music sound just as good as all your whole music. Mm-hmm. So I'm challenging my sisters too. And I think sometimes when it comes to women and consciousness, we have this thing because we want to be so far away from what's being presented, the status quo. We want to be like, nah, you can't put me in that box, that we forget our sensual nature. We forget our divine feminine nature. And we take on a very masculine energy and a very asexual energy. And one of my OGs, original goddess, Soleil,
yeah.
She shows me, and it's something that I naturally have within myself, that you can still be feminine and graceful and sensual and still be creative. So I challenge all the listeners to go and purchase not only my music, but also Soleil's music, also Hecava Mecca's music, and to know and to play this music for your children, to know that there is good sounding music, just like there's good tasting, healthy food that, also still celebrates femininity.
Exactly. And we're going to have you, when I come back around, we'll have you give out your information also. I'm coming to you just a second, Jade, but also, in addition to personal responsibility for the artist, we have to hold the record companies responsible. Seriously. And the reason why is because I guarantee you, I had this conversation a number of times this week, and I posted one of the posts I did on my Facebook page is show me the video that's equivalent to this video from a white artist. No, a corporate conglomerate, Atlantic Records, is not going to have a top white female artist is not going to put out a video and a song sexually explicit like that. Madonna didn't have nothing like on this level. I got some of Madonna stuff, okay, from back in the day. I have 2 Live Crew from back in the day. I used to listen to heavy metal. I still have Def Leppard. I still have Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, all this stuff. Nothing on this level right here, okay, and all that stuff before. That was before social media. They're not going to have no white female artists doing something like this, but they will have black women do this. They'll have black men do this, okay? And because they're attacking us, so we have to understand this. Okay, go ahead, Jay. Sorry for being long with it. Go ahead, Jay.
No, thank you for that comment, because you know what? I'm gonna go to one of my notes.
Go ahead.
Along those lines, the industry makes it appropriate for Black women to be portrayed in the most degrading and derogatory manners. Exactly. So much so that for this very same video, there was a petition that was immediately circulating. A lot of people wanted to get Kylie Jenner out of the video because they said that she was a culture vulture and that the video was perfect until she showed up in it. And so they wanted her out of this video. That's the type of twisted mentality and the mindset of it. And then also for a fact that a lot of white women and other white people were also signing that very same petition to get Kylie Jenner out of the video because they didn't want that white woman in this horrible video that they said set women back 100 years.
They have more respect. They have more respect for themselves.
Yes, because yes. And that was the conversation that was happening a lot on Twitter out of like the alt-right community and like a lot of these white, conservative elected officials. So while some Black women were signing this petition saying that the video was perfect before Kylie Jenner was in there and she's trying to co-opt and take over Black culture, then you have white folks like, yeah, get this white girl out the video because that's for the N-words over there. We don't do that. So just notice that, but notice the logic and the difference in logic. And then it's just so dysfunctional. It was like, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And so and then my whole reaction was, well, first of all, none of this is synonymous with Black culture. This does not represent me. Getting down on all fours, talking about WAP and all of this other stuff. I don't identify with it. I grew up, a youngest of four. I had two brothers, grew up in a, very, 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 large Black community, tight-knit community in the hood. But I remember being traumatized by a lot of the things that I heard and a lot of things that I saw that were reinforced in rap music and hip hop music. That has been like a major point of contention for me. And so, a lot of these people are saying like, well, this has been a part of like music and stuff forever. But yeah, I've never seen that as necessarily being synonymous with hip hop culture or Black culture in general, because we know the origins of hip hop. It was protest music. It was conscious music. I know, Brother Michael, you probably want to chime in on that, but none of this is synonymous with our culture. But unfortunately, our children are growing up to be socialized to think that this is rap music and this is Black culture. Now, I'm the person that will come to the aid of a child. Think about this scenario. Picture this. You have a young girl, Black boy, or a young Black girl in a school. And let's take the young Black boy. Maybe he's in kindergarten. Maybe he's or first grade. Maybe he's 8 years old. And he starts singing one of these lyrics from this disgusting song. We literally have white teachers out here who will make a call to the principal and say, this Black child is sexually harassing me. Oh my God, I feel threatened. Suspend the kid, get the kid, put out of school or wanting to, or sometimes even arrested out of sexual assault claims. This is real. This is what's happening, in our classrooms. And so people don't think that this subconscious, this programming isn't dangerous for our Black children. You got to wake up. And we have a whole history of lynching and I'm white and I say so, and white women or people criminalizing Black children, Black men, Black boys, right? That there's things with that. And then on the other hand, let's look at an older age group in a school. You might have a girl who may be the victim of some sort of harassment or sexual assault, right? From her peers or older person, because all of this stuff is poisonous, right? And she may not even feel comfortable with going to her parents, but may seek support from a social worker in school and may explicitly say, I don't want my family to know about this. So there's things that happen to our children, within the classroom, within school environments, or when we're at work, we're not looking, or when they're on their phones, that you just have no idea in terms of what they're doing or what they're dealing with, or how they are seeing victimized or even being targets of these traditional stereotypes for Black boys and Black women. So we have to put a stop to this. While people are consumed in how they feel and figure themselves out in terms of sexual identity or expression you can't be so selfish and to not think about the real world consequences of this stuff on the upcoming generation. And I will say that I'm highly disappointed. I'm disappointed in us adults. We have to take responsibility for this. And people keep saying this is nothing new. This is nothing new. Well, that's the issue. This is nothing new, but it's progressively getting worse. And ain't nobody trying to do nothing about it.
But see, here's the thing. I this was one of my notes. I kept past week, and I had this conversation with someone close to me, and she said, this is nothing new. When does nothing new get old? We gonna make the same mistakes? We haven't learned it. Somebody actually said to me, there was prostitution in biblical days. We haven't learned anything in 2,000 years. I mean, this doesn't make sense. This is speaking the lens of trauma. This makes no sense. Okay. I mean, we had songs like Downtown and things like that, SWV, things like this. There's nothing on this level. Okay. We ain't had YouTube then. We didn't have Facebook. Okay. We've always talked about sex and music, right? You could talk about it covertly. It could be a little more explicit. This is something on a whole nother level right here. You mentioned conscious hip hop. Okay. There are 5 elements of hip hop. I asked this question early this week. A lot of people don't know this history. See, I remember when Rappers Delight came out in 79. I remember when The Message came out, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I remember Public Enemy when they came out, and Run DMC, things like this. There are 5 elements of hip hop. Okay, 5. So usually people talk about 4 elements, and then they talk about 5 elements. You have emceeing or rapping. You have DJing, breakdancing, graffiti. The 5th element is knowledge. The 5th element of hip hop is knowledge. This whole thing here, see, some people call this shit hop. I'm serious. They say this ain't hip hop. See, hip hop was a whole culture, right? And conscious hip hop elevated our conscious level. It made us want to go to college. We were wearing African medallions, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. We're watching the TV show A Different World. We're getting anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. We're studying politics. It elevated our conscious level. So we wanted to do something. This right here, this is low vibrational music that gives you to focus on sex, money, material things like this. I sent you a text message, Jade, a few nights ago. I watched an hour of BET jams. I almost wanted to cry. I'm like, and I'm 49. I mean, I've seen a whole lot. I'm like, what the hell is this stuff here? So this weaponry is on a whole nother level. All right. So I want to come back around. Hecava, let people know how they can purchase your music and what do we do? What are the solutions? What do we do? And how are you helping bring about the type of world that we want to see and correct this nonsense? So we'll start with Hecava Mecca.
Well, you can find my music on hecavamecca.com. That's HECAVAMECCA.com.
Okay, give it one more time. Say it one more time.
HECAVAMECCA.com.
Okay, and you just dropped your CD, right?
Yeah, I just dropped it in February.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Young God.
Okay, and how much is it?
The CD, the hard copy is $10 plus shipping is $13, and there's a digital download as well for $7.
So everybody, look, $7. You can support this sister. Her music is dope. $7. You need to go to hecavamecca.com. Okay, tell them Michael Imhotep sent you. Go ahead.
For me, I've always, well, not always, because I used to be in the world. Like Sister Alchemist said, I was in the world, you know what I'm saying? I was making worldly music. I was, doing X, Y, and Z. And once I began to grow in consciousness and knowledge, I said, I don't want to be an entertainer. I want to be a role model. So that is my goal, is to be a role model. And really all I can do is work on myself and try to make myself into a better human being to where I can be a role model for young girls to look up to. And not just young girls, but also older women, because it's a lot of older women who have no guidance. You know what I'm saying? They're still looking for somebody to help evolve them into a better version of themselves. And so that's really all I can do, is work on me and really try to make myself into somebody I would want to look up to, somebody I want my son, a version of a woman I want my son to be with. and just try to be a image of light and a being of light for the people, and be an instrument for God in giving his word and teaching the people. Because like Sis said, we have a huge responsibility, and we're going to be held responsible. At the end of the day, we are held responsible with what we do because of the influence that we have. If you know that children are watching, then why are you even putting the content out, period?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you putting it out, period? So that's what I can do.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Herb Alchemist. Let people know how they can find you, how they can support you. Go ahead. And then what do we do? How do we correct this?
Right. So I'll start off with the correction. For one, us as a people, we have to stop being willing to step on each other's heads for us to get ahead. Stop being willing to be pawns for the elite, for the Illuminati, for the opposite, for our own benefit. We have to care enough about our people to present something new. And Busy Bone had stated there was a meeting that dismantled all of the positiveness in hip hop. So we have to be unwilling to take these deals and these contracts for the blood of our own people. And I want to leave with this. I actually made a song called Death of Prostitution Rap, which I shot the music video for last year. And in the last verse, I say, about the youth, what the girls looking up to. They trust you, check your every move, they love you. But you on the track talking about drugs and pussy. Now they on the track popping pills and selling pussy. This is a death of prostitution rap. Good clap. Goddesses and queens is back. Jack move of the airways, so it's quiet when the song plays. Got them contemplating about changing their ways. Draped up in all your diamonds, glitz, gold. Slave to the money, but what's the cost of your soul? And I say that also because Sukiyana, there's a video on YouTube where she's going in for about 10 minutes crying her eyes out about how she sold her soul and that she does not own any part of herself, and that she just wants to go to school, that she just wants to learn, that she just wants to be with her people, that she don't want any of this, but she can't get out because of the contracts that she signed. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to all the up and coming artists who think that becoming a musician by getting signed, that is the way. I'm telling you right now, it's not the way. That system is not designed for the progression of our people. It's designed for slaves. It's designed for people that can be mind controlled. And so the sisters that are portraying this, a lot of them know these things, but they're willing to sell us out for their own financial gain. So for us to get out of this, it's going to take us no longer being willing to sacrifice our people for our own financial gain. So you can check out my music videos at Herb Alchemist Music on YouTube. You can purchase and stream my music on Tidal, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music.
Spell Herb Alchemist, people. Spell it for them.
It's right here on the screen, and also spelled HERBALKHEMYST. I also have a website, Herb Alchemist, ALKHIST.com, where you can also purchase my music. I also have a song coming out very soon with Soleil, Serpentine, and it's about the two goddesses, Wajet and Nekbet from Kemet. You can actually check that out on her Encoded.
What's her website? Because I'm posting this here. What's Soleil's website?
Her website is iamsoleil.com.
Okay, that's Soleil. And shout out to Professor Griff also.
Yes, Professor Deuce the record. That's one of my OGs. We just honored him.
Yeah. Shout out to Professor Griff as well. iamsoleil.com. And then also give Ciroc the MC, Ciroc the MC's website. How can people purchase her music also?
I don't, but I'm sure if you look up this, on
Ciroc the MC. Okay. All right. And then let's go to Jade. Jade, what do we do? How do we fight against this? I know Bob Law has been fighting against this. He's one of the people. And a lot of people say, oh, this has been going on. Nobody's been doing anything. thing about it. No, look, you had C. Dolores Tucker back in the 90s fighting against gangster rap. You had Reverend Calvin Butts. You had Bob Law. You had Najee Ali, Reverend Al Sharpton at one point. There've been a number of people who've been fighting against this. Okay, we just don't have a whole collective effort. But go ahead, Jade.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. We need to do several things. First of all, ladies, sisters, young sisters, babies, y'all listening, I want you to make informed decisions about everything you consume, from the air, the quality of the food you eat and what you're eating, to any and all forms of media that you are consuming. Yeah. And I want you to make informed decisions about them. Do your research. Who's producing this? Who's financing this stuff? What could their agendas be possibly? Is it to help you and to serve you and us in our community, or is there historical evidence to show the opposite? Think about that. Think about everything, like the media that you're consuming. Is this constructive? Is this going to contribute to my personal liberation, development, and growth, and to me growing into my higher self, or nah? And if it's not, then put it down, right? Or is this something that's constructive, that's going to help, towards the goal of the liberation of Black African people on the planet, or raise the consciousness level of folks on the planet, in the universe, yes or no, and then leave it alone. So make informed decisions about that. The next thing that we have to do is we all have to hold ourselves to a higher standard and be responsible. We need to filter out, we need to protect our children at all costs. We need to protect each other at all costs. We have to protect the sanctity and the minds and the spirits of our youth. So keep this stuff away from them. I'm a fan of censorship. And finally,
you're a fan of
I'm going to need
censorship. Did you say censorship or
censorship? Yeah, to censor some of this stuff from our children, just kind of protect them from that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's whatever that may look like for you. The next thing is I'm gonna need brothers to continue to stand tall and to speak up. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't have a right, you don't have a place, or perspective in this conversation in terms of all of the sexual stuff, even when it comes on to certain topics or issues about women. Yes, women, we have self-determination, we define ourselves, and at the same time, because we are in partnership together, the male and the female energy, and Black men have Black mothers and sisters and daughters, etc., etc. I think that feel confident enough to voice your opinions and to do what you can to protect the community, whatever that may look like for you. And if it's stand up and say, hey, some of this stuff is actually very, very harmful, then you actually get to feel a way about it. Because at the end of the day, if someone's going to accuse anyone or taking of Black women, the first person they're going to come after and look at is the Black man, and blame things happen for not protecting the queens, the goddesses, and Black women. So I think that we need to work together, in unison to make sure that we're setting some really, really strong cultural boundaries and to protect the minds of the youth, especially, our young Black girls, and trafficking and all of those different things. And so that's what I would leave you with. I would say, be conscious of the record labels and the music industry, again, in terms of what their agendas are, and do what you can. And I think that we need to try to draw people into the conversation and kind of meet people where they are, instead of ostracizing or kicking people out of the conversation on both sides, whatever side or your perspective. I think that we need to, feelings aside, emotions aside, we get to have these conversations in a very, very respectful way and share our perspectives in a way that calls folks in, as opposed to calling folks out. My Facebook is Jade Arendelle, Jade, Arendelle, Arrindell. You can find me at Lioness Crowned on Instagram. Lioness Crowned, LIONESCROWNED. Thank you. Oh, and also I have a show on weekdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time at FlyNubianQueenTV.com. That's FlyNubianQueenTV.com. So that's on the YouTube page.
Now, I know you were just on Bob Law's radio show. Does Bob does Bob Law have any updates on what's going on with the Respect Us campaign or any of his efforts dealing with attacking this issue?
So I'm going to talk to him specifically about that. He called me yesterday and he booked me for his Saturday show. So we're going to talk about the election and politics coming up this Saturday. But I will definitely reach out to him and give you a follow-up. I definitely want to set y'all back up to do another interview. But that campaign hasn't stopped. Unfortunately, he was doing a show called Bob Law from the Street. So we would go to different neighborhoods and broadcast on WBAI radio from different, places with New York City and hit on a variety of topics. But the censorship being one of them. So that hasn't stopped at all. We just need more people to get involved and to get mobilized around this issue in terms of like holding the record companies accountable for the degrading images of Black people in music.
Right. Black men and Black women. Okay. So somebody commented, oh, you're just talking about Black women. No, I'm not. You didn't see this from the beginning of the show. No, we're dealing with both, but the inflection was WAP from Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. But we're talking about the dehumanizing, degrading images of both men and women. Okay. And all of that has to stop. Yeah, you could talk about sex. We talked about sex in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was nothing like this. It was, in the music, it's on a whole nother level. I want people to check out this article from AtlantaBlackStar.com. I saw this article, came out July 3rd, 2019. And from this article, that's why I contacted you, Jade, and interviewed Bob Law in 2019. It's entitled Black Leaders Try to Ban Indecent Hip Hop from Radio Stations in New York During the Day. Black leaders try to ban indecent hip hop from radio stations in New York during the day. This deals with the Respect Us campaign. And just briefly, a paragraph from the article says the Respect Us campaign is aimed at ending support for broadcasts from urban radio stations that feature music that demeans, denigrates, and promotes violence against women, with Black women as the primary target. That post was from the National Congress of Black Women in a Facebook post. Now, the initiative is also backed by the National Black Leadership Alliance. It focuses specifically on urban radio stations because they target the Black community, organizers said in an October 2018 press release. The radio stations program a consistent playlist laced with demeaning and degrading lyrics while constantly using the N-word in order to make it clear that they are only referring to Black women, Bob Law said in the release. And I think it must be in their contract. They got to use the N-word a certain number of times, hip hop song. I mean, because this don't, you go back to the early 80s, stuff like that. We had the N-word. It wasn't nothing like this. This is just on a whole nother level of warfare. Okay, so check out that article. Lastly, I want to, the article I talked about earlier, Black girls are viewed as less innocent than white girls starting at age 5. Everybody read this. This is from HuffingtonPost.com. It talks about adultification bias, adultification bias of Black girls. Another segment of the report said, one reason this might be occurring is because Black girls are being held to the same stereotypes we have for Black women. Black women have historically and currently been seen as being aggressive, loud, defiant, and over-sexualized. And one of the people involved in the report said, and I believe, along with many other researchers, that the stereotypes of Black women are being mapped onto Black girls, meaning that those stereotypes that Black women have and we see being pushed out through these videos, they're being transferred onto Black girls, and Black girls are being treated based upon these stereotypes that are being applied to Black women. Okay. And at the time, like I said, I'm against the videos that dehumanize Black, from the male artists that dehumanize the Black women in them also. I'll say all this has to stop. Okay, we have to attack all of this. All right. So let me see. I think I got everything. Oh, lastly, we have to stop financing our own dehumanization. We have to stop financing our own dehumanization. I've talked about this before. In the city of New York in 2017, New York Daily News had an article about this. I'm gonna try to pull it up. A lot of people don't know that we invest in privatized prisons through our pension funds and 401k plans. In the city of New York, city employees divested $48 million from 3 privatized prisons in June of 2017. Core Civic, Geo Group, and G4S. Core Civic is the largest owner-operator of privatized prisons. They used to be called Corrections Corporation of America. Geo Group used to be called Whack and Hut. Okay, I've done lectures dealing with the history of the war on drugs, going back to Richard Nixon's war on drugs, declared June 17th, 1971. And I've dealt with privatized prisons. So they found out that they were investing in privatized prisons. They said, you may have privatized prisons, but you're not going to use our money for it. And they divested from it. A lot of people, a lot of times we don't know that we can choose where our pension fund dollars are invested in. A lot of times we are invested in corporations that put out negative corporate control hip hop, and we don't know it. We're financing our own dehumanization. So you can, if you have a pension fund or 401k plan, contact your benefits manager and find out where's your money invested. Groups of employees can get together. Go read what they did. They divested their money. Okay. So this is real. And also we saw in the state of California, the California Teachers Union, that's the largest teachers union in the country. They found out that after the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012, they found out that some of their pension fund dollars were invested in the gun manufacturer that made the AR-15 assault rifle used in the Sandy Hook shooting. They didn't know they were invested in gun manufacturers. They divested. They found out they were invested in a total of 3 gun manufacturers, and they divested their pension fund dollars from that. Okay, so we have to understand, we have to redistribute the pain through economic, and our pension funds oftentimes are financed. Pension funds on 401k plans are oftentimes financing our own dehumanization. Okay, so these are things we have weapons that we have to attack mentally, and we have to fight back economically, redistribute the pain economically, as well as Dr. King said in his last speech, April 3rd, 1968. This ain't a history lesson, so I'm trying to keep this short. Okay. But yeah, Dr. King left a blueprint, and he said we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. He said that this is one of the things missing from this whole Black Lives Matter thing. They ain't talking about we need to have targeted, sustained economic withdrawal, okay, to target corporations. This is what he's talking about. So people go on YouTube, listen to I've Been to the Mountaintop. It's about 43 minutes. They only show you the last 2 minutes on the television, where he talks about getting to mountaintop, where he talks about economic empowerment and boycotting white-owned businesses, Coca-Cola bread and Wonder Bread and Siltest milk, and investing in black banks and black insurance companies. That's in the same speech. They don't show you that on the television. Okay, that's Dr. King, the revolutionary Dr. King. We want to thank our panelists, Hecava Mecca, Alchemyst, Jade Arendelle. I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. And be sure to listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We broadcast here on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. I also do radio here in Detroit on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. I'm a radio show host here in Detroit. So my show is on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You listen to over 1,000 audio podcasts of my broadcasts. My DVD lectures are there, digital downloads, and you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. That helps us to finance what we're doing, keep broadcasting the African History Network show, help support the African History Network. All right, so sisters, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Coming on tonight. Okay.
I followed both of you, so follow me back on
Yes, will do.
let's build further on how to actually solve this issue. You know, I thank you, Michael, so much for allowing me to be a part of this.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yes,
All right,
thanks. And I'm going to bring both of y'all onto my show. So get ready.
Yes.
Alchemist and Hecava Mecca.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brother Michael.
Okay, guys, we're going to get out of here. Hey, remember, at the app, focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. Right now it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.